this bubble, you know, this imaginary bubble.
Yeah, don't leave the bubble.
Don't leave the bubble.
Don't leave the bubble.
So this week the bubble is a ship. I will not get off the ship because I don't want to leave the bubble.
You haven't left the ship?
I won't leave the ship.
Wow.
I go to my room, I practice, and when we go away on tour, you know, like the hotel is the bubble. So you kind of, if we're in a cool city like London or Paris, you know, I might walk around a little bit, but I'm not a sightseeing Joe that goes out and does all that. It's just not for me. I mean, I spend my life in an airplane and going all over the world, and I've seen a whole bunch of really, really cool things. And when I was in Sting's band, it was the best sightseeing tour you could have. But when you're the band leader, you better make sure your own thing acts together, you know. So that's what we do.
So, but nevertheless, you have a beautiful home in Los Angeles. It's a gorgeous home. And how many nights in the last year have you slept in your own bed in Los Angeles?
I don't know, maybe 40, 30?
30 nights out of 360.
No, but at the end of the year, when it's all said and done, it's just about 60 nights at home. But listen, I always go back and say that if you're a 9-year-old kid and you write in on a piece of paper, what is your dream? And you take it out at 49 or 48, I'm 48 now, and it's the exact same thing, then it doesn't matter, nothing else matters. It's great.
So this was, when you were a kid, this is...
Far exceeded, but you know, to say I want to be a trumpet player, that's all I really wanted to be. And so, you know, my parents were like, you're crazy. You know, like, first of all, they were like, why did you pick the trumpet? Why don't you pick another instrument? You know, all these bands had drums and piano and bass and stuff like that, and trumpet, and I'm like, I want to play the trumpet. And as my career has gotten on, the fact that I play an instrument that not a lot of other people play has been one of my biggest musical weapons, you know?
Let's talk a little bit about meeting Sting, because I know that was a very important day, and a very important relationship in your life. And also I want to talk a little bit about what it's like to you don't mind me asking questions vicariously, do you? You can ask them too, but I want to know what it's like to hang out with movie stars and rock stars, and I don't know from that. I don't know from the whole Sting thing. So how did you meet Sting, and walk us through how that whole thing...
Well, it's all, Sting does a concert for the Rainforest every year in New York at Carnegie Hall. And at the time, he was kind of into Antonio Carlos Jobim and wanted to do a duet of Roxanne, and he goes, I kind of want to find like a Miles Davis kind of guy in New York. So he asked one of his friends, here we go, it all comes down to word of mouth, and this guy goes, this guy, the young guy in town, call him, he'll do great. So Sting and I, you know, he didn't say, come by, I want to audition you, nothing. Just show up, rehearse a little bit, and then we became friends. We had a lot of things in common. You know, we love that kind of music, sophisticated pop music, bossa nova, jazz, of course, and then our huge love of yoga. And so I was doing yoga one day after we had met, and I realized that I've heard that Frank Sinatra died. And Frank Sinatra was my very first professional gig. I dropped out of college in the middle of my 4th year and did this little 2-week tour with Frank Sinatra. And so I said to myself, I know this is like the dumbest thing I could ever do. I'm going to call Sting's assistant and just say, you know, does Sting want to sing on an album with me to do In the Wee Small Hours of the Morning, which is my favorite Sinatra song. So I called up Teresa, Sting's assistant, because I had his number from the original, had her number from the original meeting. I said, you know, you remember me, the trumpet player? Blah, blah, blah. I said, would Sting consider, you know, and I hung up the phone, I was beet red, I thought I was so, what an idiot, you know? And then 2 days later, she calls back and said, Sting would love to do it as long as you would come to Italy and play on his record. I'm like... I'm amazing, right? I mean, like, who got the better end of that deal, you know?
Did you say, I'll call you back?
Yeah, let me think about it. Call my manager. So I went to Italy and hung out at his beautiful place, and we recorded a couple things for his album. And then it wasn't until like a couple months later we found ourselves in London at the same time. And he rang me up and said, meet me at this hotel in this little bar. And he sat down and said, Chris, I know you've released a few records, and I know your career's on its way, but I'm going to ask you to do something. I'm going to ask you to like blow off your career and join my band, and for 2 years. And we're going to go on the road for 2.5 years, and you're not going to look back. Join my band, and I'm going to single-handedly break the sound of your trumpet to the whole world. And that's what he did.
Amazing, right? Thank you, Sting. Thank you.